We're opening up new opportunities in India for British businesses, opportunities that other countries simply do not have. It has given us a unique edge. So I've come here this week, leading our biggest trade delegation to India ever, to follow through on this deal. That means 126 CEOs, tech entrepreneurs, SMEs, vice-chancellors, sports and cultural leaders, all here with me to seize the incredible benefits that this deal offers to the British people. The opportunity is clear. Just look at the sheer scale of India, the world's largest democracy, on track to become the third largest economy by 2028, an economic superpower in the making. And we, the UK, are perfectly placed to be part.
There exists a particular species of political theatre that unfolds when leaders travel abroad, a carefully choreographed performance designed to project strength, significance, and statesmanship to audiences both foreign and domestic. This week, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer experienced this theatrical tradition in its most elaborate form as he arrived in Mumbai to a reception that must have seemed almost surreal to a man more accustomed to hostile press conferences and dwindling poll numbers. Pictures of the British Prime Minister adorned the city, not merely scattered here and there but festooned throughout Mumbai in a display of welcome that bordered on the overwhelming. Approximately 5,700 posters proclaimed his arrival. Dancers lined the route from the airport, performing celebratory routines to mark the occasion. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a leader who understands political spectacle better than most, had orchestrated a welcome that Starmer will indeed never forget. Welcome to UK Decoded. Please subscribe to the channel for daily updates on hot topics concerning UK politics and the royal family with detailed breakdowns.
So this trade deal is a launchpad to boost British leadership in everything from tech to life sciences to renewable energy and much more beyond that. And we've seized these opportunities in full this week, delivering real results for the British people, securing new investments into the UK worth £1.3 billion and creating 10,600 jobs. That's remarkable. It includes 1,500 jobs in the Northwest, over 1,000 across the Midlands, 200 in Yorkshire and the Humber, and 700 in Northern Ireland. Great jobs in advanced engineering, in defence, in car production, filmmaking.
The contrast with Starmer's domestic reception could scarcely be more stark. When the Prime Minister arrives in Liverpool for the Labour Party conference, there are no posters celebrating his leadership. There are no dancers greeting his motorcade. There is instead the grinding reality of British politics in 2025, where his party faithful gather not to celebrate their leader's triumphs but to whisper anxiously about whether he possesses the political skills to survive. Last week's Labour conference was marred, as these gatherings increasingly are, by rampant speculation about potential successors. Andy Burnham, the mayor of Greater Manchester, looms over proceedings as the man many Labour members believe could do the job better, the popular regional leader who combines northern authenticity with political competence in ways that elude the London lawyer currently occupying Downing Street. This is the paradox at the heart of Keir Starmer's premiership. Abroad, he is received as a colossus striding the global stage, a leader of a major world power commanding respect and ceremony. At home, he is a prime minister besieged by dire poll ratings that show his party struggling against Nigel Farage's Reform UK, presiding over a stagnant economy that refuses to respond to government interventions, appearing increasingly vulnerable to challenges both from within his own party and from resurgent opposition forces. The psychological whiplash of moving between these two realities must be extraordinary. One can only imagine what it does for one's self-esteem to be celebrated with thousands of posters in Mumbai whilst knowing that back home, significant portions of your own party are quietly discussing your replacement. Yet we must not dismiss Starmer's Indian visit as mere political escapism, a brief holiday from domestic troubles wrapped in the trappings of diplomatic necessity. The trip served a genuine and important purpose, one that goes to the heart of this government's economic strategy and political survival. This was fundamentally an exercise in rebuilding relations with Britain's business community, a constituency that Labour desperately needs on side, but has managed to alienate with alarming efficiency since taking power. Scores of executives crammed into the same charter flight as the Prime Minister, creating what observers have described as a Team GB-style atmosphere, a collective sense of national purpose that transcends the usual divisions between government and commerce. This matters enormously because those divisions have grown dangerously wide in recent months. The business community reacted with barely concealed fury to the shock rise in employers' national insurance contributions announced by Chancellor Rachel Reeves. They view this as a tax on jobs, a measure that makes employing people more expensive and therefore makes businesses less likely to expand their workforces. Coupled with Angela Rayner's workers' rights revolution, which significantly enhances employee protections but also increases the regulatory burden and potential costs for employers, many in British business have concluded that this Labour government is fundamentally hostile to their interests despite its rhetoric about being pro-growth and pro-business. The India trade mission represents Starmer's attempt to calm this anger, to demonstrate through actions rather than mere words that his government genuinely values business partnership and understands that economic growth depends on private sector dynamism. The symbolism of traveling together, of sharing the charter flight and the mission objectives, is designed to foster a sense of common endeavor. When those participating in the trade mission applauded Starmer in the grandeur of the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel, it represented a rare moment of genuine enthusiasm from a business audience that has spent much of the past year viewing Labour with suspicion and disappointment. For Starmer personally, the visit provided something he receives precious little of in British political life: fun. This is a Prime Minister who often appears weighed down by the burdens of office, who struggles to project warmth or enjoyment in public settings, who seems most comfortable in earnest discussions of policy detail rather than the performative aspects of political leadership. Yet in India, we glimpsed a different Starmer. This ardent football fan got to spend time with Michael Owen, the former England striker, mixing business networking with genuine personal pleasure. There have been rare outbreaks of levity, moments where the Prime Minister could relax into the role rather than appearing to strain under its weight. The visit also allowed Starmer to articulate his economic vision with more optimism than circumstances usually permit. He spoke enthusiastically about the potential of the trade deal being negotiated with India, about how Britain's innovators could deliver real economic growth if given access to Indian markets and investment opportunities. This is the future Starmer wants to believe in, a Britain that has successfully navigated the challenges of leaving the European Union by forging new relationships with emerging economic superpowers, a Britain whose creative industries and technological expertise find eager markets in the world's most dynamic economies, a Britain that grows not through public spending or redistribution, but through genuine wealth creation in the private sector. It is an appealing vision, one that Labour desperately needs if it is to avoid the trap of becoming simply the party of tax increases and public sector expansion. Yet the enormous challenge facing Starmer is that visions articulated in Mumbai must be implemented in Britain, and British political and economic realities are considerably less accommodating than Indian welcomes. The Prime Minister knows this. He must know that when he returns to Downing Street, the warmth of his Indian reception will dissipate with remarkable speed, replaced by the cold realities that have defined his premiership thus far. Those realities are harsh and growing harsher. For all the business leaders' enthusiasm about the potential of an India trade deal, their overwhelming concern remains focused on what Rachel Reeves will do to them in next month's autumn budget. The Chancellor has already delivered one budget that raised taxes significantly, particularly on business through the national insurance contribution increase. Now whispers circulate through corporate boardrooms and business organizations that she is preparing to do it again, that fiscal pressures and spending commitments will force her to return to the well of business taxation for more revenue. Every positive word Starmer speaks about partnership with business is undermined by these fears, by the suspicion that Labour views commerce primarily as a source of tax revenue rather than as the engine of prosperity. The political calendar offers no comfort either. When Starmer looks beyond Christmas, his gaze falls upon the May elections, and what he sees there should give him considerable anxiety. Local elections, Scottish Parliament contests, and Welsh Senedd voting will provide the first major electoral test of his government's performance. Nigel Farage has made abundantly clear his intention to use these elections to humiliate Labour, to demonstrate that Reform UK has captured the loyalty of working-class voters who traditionally supported Labour but now view the party as out of touch with their concerns about immigration, national identity, and economic security. Most alarmingly for Labour, polling suggests that the party could lose its traditional dominance in Wales, potentially surrendering first place for the first time in more than a century. Wales has long been Labour's fortress, the one part of Britain where the party could always count on strong support even when struggling elsewhere. To lose that would represent not merely an electoral setback, but a symbolic catastrophe, evidence that Labour has become detached from its historical roots and traditional base. The psychological impact on party morale would be devastating, and the pressure on Starmer's leadership would intensify dramatically. This is why the India visit, for all its pomp and potential, ultimately functions as escapism rather than solution. India has provided Starmer with a rollicking and sunny interlude, a brief period where he could experience what successful political leadership feels like, where he could be celebrated rather than scrutinized, where he could articulate optimistic visions without immediately being confronted with contrary evidence. It has been a holiday from British political reality, dressed up as diplomatic necessity and economic mission. But holidays end, and reality reasserts itself with particular force when one has been away from it. When Sir Keir pulls back the curtains at Downing Street after returning from Mumbai, he will look out at a stormy political landscape that has not improved during his absence and may well have deteriorated further. Winter is coming, both literally and metaphorically. The literal winter will bring pressures on public services, on energy costs, on household budgets already stretched to breaking point. The metaphorical winter refers to the political climate facing this government. The growing sense that Labour's initial period in office has disappointed more than it has inspired, that the change promised during the election campaign has failed to materialize in ways that voters can feel in their daily lives. The business leaders who traveled with Starmer to India and applauded him in the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel will return to Britain and immediately confront the same frustrations that drove their anger in the first place. The trade deal with India, even if successfully concluded, will take years to deliver tangible economic benefits. Meanwhile, the tax increases and regulatory burdens they object to are immediate and concrete. The gap between long-term vision and short-term reality remains vast, and it is in that gap that political credibility dies. Starmer's challenge is to translate the optimism and partnership spirit of the India mission into domestic political capital. He must convince businesses that Labour genuinely understands their concerns and will not simply view them as cash machines to fund public spending. He must convince voters that his government has a credible plan to deliver economic growth and improved living standards. He must convince his own party that he possesses the political skills and strategic vision to lead them to sustained success rather than merely to escape the immediate catastrophe of the previous Conservative government.